What's going on and what's shaking, Chewy Nation? Welcome back to another ChewbaccaLemma video where today we talk about the most anticipated video on my channel, most requested video, my solo battle guide. Of course, I couldn't make this until I actually took some time to play solo battle, so that's why this is coming out now and not a week or so ago. But I want to show what I did. I was on pace for top 10. The only reason I didn't do it was because the whole issue at the beginning of the week where people were getting like 50 games played, and I wasn't sure when the update was. I missed it. I'm assuming it was the same as every other week, so that's on me. But I'll show my box scores. I'll show my scores. I'll show the plays and everything. I'm giving you everything I got to help you be able to get top 100. And even better, for sure, because there's issues that I have with my box score that I want to talk about as well. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's show a box score right here. This is the first game we'll talk about. We'll show another box score in a minute as well. But here's a box score. First thing, before I forget to say this, you have to play on the hardest difficulty. The hardest difficulty, go all the way down to Legend. I'm not sure why that's not just the default. I think it's called Legend. You have to play on that, or you're not going to get top 100. So make sure you're doing that. Hardest difficulty is really, it's crucial. You have to do it. Also, playbook-wise, anything with nickel 245, which pretty much every playbook has. Multiple D doesn't have it, but I think pretty much everything else does. And offense, you can pretty much run most playbooks. We'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, at least for what I'm doing. So the first box score here, we'll go through each thing and we'll talk about it, and then we'll show we'll show the gameplay with it as well. So score 64-0, that looks good. You want to try to score 50 points. That's kind of the goal, 50 or more. We did it here with 64, so that's good. Usually I like to get a handful of passing touchdowns, a couple rushing touchdowns. I'm not sure how much that matters, but it's usually not that big a deal. So go ahead and do that. And then get a defensive touchdown as well. Again, these are all just speculations on how much they matter, but it's usually pretty easy to do when we talk about the game plan. So I would go ahead and recommend, maybe 4 or 5 passing touchdowns, a couple rushing touchdowns, and a defensive touchdown, and you should be pretty good there. We didn't give up any points. We'll talk about that in a second. Total offense looks good. That we're not going to really discuss that any farther, but rushing yards, 166. So here's the first issue with my box score. This was a 25-9 game. So rushing yards 166. That's a little low. We probably want to get closer to 200. I reached out to Lurkhord, which is one of the best solo battle. If not the best solo battle player that we have. He's on Xbox, and he obviously does really well. He did last year. I'm assuming he's first this week, but I didn't look because I was on PlayStation. But if you don't know, he's really good. And I asked him, look at this box score. Like, what are you seeing? And just like last year, he thinks 200 yards rushing, and that's what it was last year. What we kind of thought. So rushing yards 166. We probably want to go to at least 200 there. Passing yards is fine. I always said 200 and 400 last year. So probably did a little bit more there. The only reason I have so many passing yards is because I was trying to get some first downs, and I'm using an all-Texans team. It's way easier to pass than to rush with it. So if I was really trying to have the best solo battle team, I probably would pick up a few non-Texans that have a lot of speed, especially at running back. That would be ideal. Barry Sanders, Bo Jackson, or anybody you can get to like 90 speed. That would be great early on. And then later on in the year, obviously, you want more speed. Barry would be probably the perfect running back, honestly. Anyway, so rushing yards. So what I did was, I'm in the Cowboys playbook. I'm not going to say this is the best playbook, but I just ran I-form slot stretch. Stretch is really good. It's still really good against the CPU. If you have really good speed, I'm not sure how many times I'm going to say really, but if you have great speed, you can run around the CPU and then get out of bounds. Or if you're like me and you don't have a great team, if you have a wide open lane, you might want to just go ahead and take it and get as many yards as possible and go out of bounds or go for a touchdown. That's what I do with rushing. Pretty much stretch all day. You can run whatever running plays that you find to be the most successful. If you have a great running back, you're going to find that this isn't very hard. If you don't have a great running back, if you're struggling a little bit, there's a few things you could do. You could run sort of like levels or even like Hail Mary. If you know they're in man coverage, if you have a mobile quarterback, if you have Lamar, you can get 30, 40 yards on a run on a scramble with Lamar because he's so fast, especially if they're in man coverage. Which is easy to tell based on the alignment of the defense. If you're not sure, go to practice mode and just see. The CPU doesn't hide anything. So man coverage, if you see that, you can run everybody to one side and then just scramble to the other side with Lamar, and you might be able to run for a touchdown. So if you have Lamar or you have a great fast quarterback, that's a great way to get rushing yards as well when they're in man coverage. You could do this by just keep doing your passing plays, and when you notice they're in man, go ahead and put everybody to one side. You could run levels, or whatever, and then put everybody on drags, get everybody on one side, and then just roll out to the other side, and you're gonna have a big play. That's an option. I don't have that on my team. Deshaun Watson's not nearly fast enough to pull that off, but you could do that to get some easy rushing yards. If you keep doing that, though, they will start putting spies on the field, so just keep that in mind. Then passing yards. So this is the big thing with my strategy. My passing yard strategy, and I think this is crucial, is levels. So levels. That's what I say. Levels is really, really, really good, or anything with a table route. I like levels. If they play like man coverage or anything, I feel like I can easily adjust. So I like it. The table route is the running back route in the backfield, and it's really, really good. If you throw it at the perfect time or throw it around the back, he's gonna be easily be able to go by and just pick up 10, 15, 20 yards. I usually just get the first down, go out of bounds. It's really good because it goes toward the sideline and you're good. I like running it to the short side of the field, even though that does give you less space. I just feel like the zones don't play it as well, but you can mess around with that if you like the wide side better. I like throwing it to the short side though. So we throw it levels. If you're looking for a playbook with that, couple things, just go through your playbook and see if you have it. It's going to be in something, some sort of trips tight end, trips, trio offset, something with 3 wide receivers on one side, and you go ahead and dump it off to your running back. Most playbooks have some play with levels. I'm running the Cowboys. Of course, you could probably figure out, many playbooks do. If you're not sure, you can also go to huddle.gg, huddle.gg. This isn't sponsored at all, but they have a playbook database, which is really good. It shows the play art and all that. I like the way it looks, so I'm mentioning it. So anyways, you have that. It's free, by the way, as well. You don't have to pay. They have paid stuff, but the playbook database is free right at the top. Okay, anyways. So levels. Go out of bounds. Go out of bounds is crucial because you can stay in bounds, but last year, the reason why you stay in bounds is because it was actually quicker to no huddle. There would be like no runoff and run a play because you guys are like trying to hike it really fast. It was quicker to do that than go out of bounds because once you come back to the line, once you get out of bounds and go back to the line, they just take their time. If you no huddle, they're much quicker. But because of the runoff this year, it's way more efficient to go out of bounds. So you always go out of bounds. Always. We'll talk about wins bet. I mean, even more so at certain times in the game, but always go out of bounds. It should always be a thing. Get as many first downs as possible as well. You might have to get, at certain times in the game, you might have to prioritize yards, but yeah, you want those first downs. So go ahead, go out of bounds, and wait until there's 20 seconds on the play clock before you call another play, because it will roll down to 20 if you call a play. It will chew all the way down, excel down to 20. So make sure you wait till 20 seconds. This does seem tedious, I understand. You're just sitting there and waiting. That can be kind of annoying, but this is the most efficient way to do it. So you do that, and you'll be able to take advantage of the time as much as possible. I did this whole solo in about 25 minutes. I was recording, so I know it was just over 25 minutes when I started recording. So that's about what you're looking at, 25 to 30 minutes time frame. So levels, go out of bounds. Now, what's really, really, really important is how you use the time. So we're going to talk about defense here in a second. I haven't talked about that yet. But offense, when it's the last 2 minutes of the second quarter and in the fourth, the clock completely stops when you go out of bounds. This is when you can really, really stockpile first downs. If you go out of bounds, obviously, it stops the clock completely. It doesn't start back up. You don't have to wait for 20 seconds if it's the last 2 minutes of the second quarter or in the fourth. you can just go ahead and call another play, which is nice too. You can get 6, 7, 8 first downs in one drive, which is nice depending on where you started. So that's awesome. When you need to get 30, that's when you get a bunch. You can get, 6 in the 2 minute, if you have one drive in 2 minutes, 2 minutes in a second, you can get 6 or 7 in the fourth. You're already getting a big chunk of those first downs, which is really crucial. You got to make sure you have the ball in the last 2 minutes of the second and in the fourth quarter. Those are really, really important to be efficient with your time. So levels, and you try to get 400 passing yards or more. Rushing yards, try to get 200. And I talked about the first downs. Always go out of bounds because if you are tackled in bounds, you can no huddle and hurry up and call a play. But you should try to stay in bounds. Go out of bounds. If they are running man coverage, I usually just drag my tight end on that because or you can drag someone else as well. But the reason I like the tight end is because you have 3 receivers on one side, all running to let's say the left. If you have the guys on the right side, they're running to one side with their in routes, and they're coming over to the left. And then you drag the other guy. I had Waller, or you could have Ingram or whoever. That's the one non-Texan I had because tight ends on Texans are awful. But in Madden, and you go ahead and drag him, and he'll be wide open, and you'll easily be able to get 10, 15, 20 yards. If you have a better tight end, maybe even more, depending on who it is. I like to drag my tight end if I know they're running man coverage. That's about it, because you're not going to want to probably throw the table route. You can sometimes, depending on who it is that man's up, but usually I just drag the tight end. I think that's the easiest way to make sure you can easily get out of bounds. That's my idea. Of course, you can try some other things as well if you have like route apprentice on your tight end maybe or something. There's man beaters. If you have like Jermichael Finley or Tony Gonzalez or something. Again, if you don't worry about that because I was using an 83, 84 overall team, all Texans. So you don't have to have a crazy good team to make this work. Okay, then punt return, kick return yards. I think you should try to get some. Is there, the more you get, if you get like 100 or something, are you going to get a higher score? Maybe. It's just usually too hard to go after something like that, and the CPU will kick it out of bounds so many times that, or when they kick off, they'll kick it really short. That's what happened in this game. That it can be hard, but I do think you should try to get some yards there. I don't think you want to go negative. Total yards, that's fine, and then turnovers. You don't want to turn the ball over. I turned the ball over because I'm a ding dong. I threw a pick. I threw it right to him. It was completely blind. But no turnovers. That's probably self-explanatory. You don't want to turn the ball over. That's just awful. Not just because it might hurt your score, but because you're also giving the ball back to them. And then I had plenty of turnovers on their side. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So let's talk about defense. So defense is not hard for the most part. Defense is punt, squeeze, block, and you audible. I made a video on this a couple weeks ago. Check it out. I'll leave a link for that in the description. And you'll see the play here as well in this footage. But you will go ahead, come out and punt, squeeze, block, and audible to punt, save man, and they'll throw a pick right to you. There is exceptions to this rule, so I feel obligated to tell you that. But that's really the idea. You just want to keep picking them off. Sometimes this won't work. We'll talk about that. But that's what I did here, and I was able to get the ball back with ease. Go ahead and get a defensive touchdown in there. When you do it, you should be able to easily get one throughout the game, and that will get you the ball back. And that's how you're going to be able to get all these stats on offense. Like I said, it's going to take 25 minutes. It's going to take 30 minutes. It's going to take a little bit for a game, but maybe you'll find it fun. Try to beat your best score. Try to, just practice. Maybe do it on a second account. If you have a second account, try these strategies first. If you got like an okay team, and then take it to your best team before you do solo battles for your main account. Again, just a thought. So, anyways, you do your punt, squeeze, block. I will go ahead and mention, do not do field goal block. I did it last year. I'm assuming I shouldn't have done it. I don't know if squeeze was still good. I'm assuming it was, but yeah, do punt, squeeze. It's way better in every way. There's nothing better about field goal block that I'm aware of. You do punt, squeeze. They still audible to verticals, and this will, just in case there's a couple issues, in case they maybe they don't audible. Sometimes, like if they're already in verticals or something, or if they just quick hike you, and you're not like audibling and they are able to hurry up and snap it, you're going to give up a touchdown most likely. If you're in punt squeeze block, that would never happen. So punt squeeze block, you already have 2 corners on the outside, so it's great. And then user one of the corners, and you're going to be able to pick it off with relative ease. So definitely do that. That is my recommendation on that. If you're using field goal block, it's fine, but I would recommend switching. Okay, now here's the issues. Here's the problems when things come up. What do you do? So in the last 2 minutes of the second quarter, as well as the fourth, and I believe this last 10-ish seconds of the quarter, the field goal block glitch, punt block glitch, does not work. At least it didn't work last year. I'm assuming it's the same this year. I didn't test it because I was playing and I didn't want to, mess up. I'm pretty sure it's probably the same. So what do you got to do? This is when you can't use that. So there's a few things here. One, don't let them have the ball during the fourth quarter or the last 2 minutes of the second. That would be ideal, I guess. If you are doing really, really well, just don't give them the ball. Just get a bunch of first downs and use your clock that way. In the fourth, a lot of times, if you get really good at this, you'll notice that you don't even need anything else. You got your stats pretty well done. So you might just be chewing clock, honestly. Especially if you feel like you're not feeling good on defense. You might just run the clock out and just pick up a bunch of first downs and call it a game. The last 2 minutes of the second, if they have the ball, you probably want to get the ball back because the last 2 minutes are so crucial for getting first downs, as well as the fourth. But early on, you're probably going to want to try to get the ball back. So this is where I run mid blitz, nickel 2-4-5. Mid blitz is in like every playbook besides multiple D that I'm aware of. So it's pretty much every playbook. Nickel 2-4-5, mid blitz. If you have a great team, high press, high speed, all that, you can press and just sit it and forget it. It's going to do well. Pass commit, all that as well, if you want. That's fine. But if you don't have a great team, you're going to have to still press, I recommend, but I would recommend shading over top. I believe it's triangle or Y on Xbox and up on the right stick. It will pop up. I believe that's right. I'm muscle memory, I can do it, but thinking about it, I'm not sure. So shade over top. This takes away the press, which is an issue, but at least we'll make it where if you have a bad team, you're not going to get burnt for a one-play touchdown because that will happen sometimes. So if you don't want to do that, I shade over top. Again, pursue at your own risk. If you have top-notch corners, you're not going to probably get beat anyway. And pressing is valuable when you're blitzing. So mid-blitz is sitting 6. You want to user the guy who's on the running back, if there is a running back. If there is a guy, there's like 5 wide, just line up your guys, make sure they're close to the guys they're guarding, and then user like a middle linebacker. Or you could even user the outside guy because he's going to come free, which is going to be nice because you're only blocking 5 and you're sitting 6. But if you user one of the center linebackers, a lot of times if they're going to throw like a drag, you can pick it off with your user. Again, that just takes some practice. But mid blitz is going to scream if what you do, you have 6 guys blitzing, you user the safety if they have a running back, and now they're going to maybe block 6, you're setting 7, your user plus the 6. If they don't block the running back, of course that's your guy. You could go after him, or you could blitz with him. Usually, if you time it well, you can sack them before they even have a chance to throw it to their running back. Of course, if you don't get there, then they're going to have a wide open running back. So that just takes a little bit of practice. I'm a mid-blitz believer. I still think it's really good. What it comes down to is the best blitz you have. The best, really, man blitz. Because the CPU will always find the open man, especially in these. So you really need a man blitz that comes home quick. Mid blitz is good. If they're blocking 5, 6 is going to come in off the edge really fast. Obviously the more speed you have, the better. If they're blocking 6, you have your user to come in. So now you're sending 7, and the 4 guys that are going out on routes are all being guarded man coverage. So that's up to you. I'm just telling you what I do, and I had a lot of success with that. That is what I had to do. Now let's talk about the exceptions. That is what I had to do against the Panthers. The Panthers, which I scored 25-5. I was happy with that game. 25-5. I know a lot of people struggle with this one. I didn't try to do amazing on it because I didn't want to give them the chance to dot me up. So I basically just had as few possessions as possible because the Panthers When they audible, do not audible to verticals. Same for if you have the Ravens playbook. There's a few playbooks. So if this does happen, they do audible, but they don't audible to verticals. You're gonna have to try it. You're gonna have to run mid blitz or whatever your favorite blitz is. You're gonna have to do other things. As far as I have found, I haven't been able to manipulate the CPU when they do something like this, like in the Panthers. They do like QB runs instead of verticals or something like that. You'll see this sometimes. If you're not sure, go into you probably even do this in an exhibition game. Go face like the Ravens, and just into a regular season game, practice, whatever. Not practice. I don't know. Practice won't work because they call play. But go into a actual game facing the Ravens and audible and see what they do. If you want to try to find a strategy there, you might be able to still with punt squeeze. See if you can find something. But I just run mid blitz and it still worked really well. I did well on that one, but there is a little bit of luck involved. They're passing every play. There is going to be luck involved a little bit that depending on what play they come out at. Obviously, slants is going to beat you quite well, and the CPU loves slants. I did have a lot of success on all 4 games. They didn't really pass. I had the 1 touchdown I allowed against the 49ers, which I'll show the box score here. The 1 touchdown I allowed was when I used punt squeeze, and I just whiffed on my user, and they agged me, and it was a bad user, and I got a little unlucky, and they ran for a long touchdown. And that's unfortunate. That gave them a huge touchdown, and they did it 2 more times, I think, and then they had one other first down. So that's what happened in that game, and that cost me a decent score. Because everything else in the game, I guess we kind of had the same issue as we had before. We didn't have the turnover, but we didn't have as many rushing yards that we need. We were 1 shy of 30 first downs. Everything else was fine. But that's what happened in that game. So hopefully this helps with the strategy. Again, levels, punt, squeeze, block to punt safe. And if that does not work, which sometimes I can't, I'm not going to lie, it's not going to work every time because certain playbooks, they don't do it. It's rare. It's definitely rare. You're going to have to, come up with a different strategy, which we did in the Panthers one, which worked fine. But keep that in mind. So if we would have played all 13, if we extrapolate this, we would have gotten about 335 this week, which would have put us like 4th or 5th, just to keep you that in mind. That is playing the Panthers, which is the most annoying of all. I don't know what the next set of games were, but that is, I don't know if there was more of that. But that's not bad. That would have put us 4th or 5th, and not 1st, but easily top 10. So that's good. At least the last time I checked. Maybe easily top 25, I should say. So we were well on pace to do well. I just missed the refresh, so oopsies. That's on me. Next week, though, I think you'll see us on the leaderboard, so check that out. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this did help. If it did, a like would be appreciated. Subscribe if you're new. You guys are absolutely incredible. That's all I got. ChewbaccaLemma, out.